All right, guys, so let's talk about trends in this lesson. And some of the advanced guys might find most of the information in here probably redundant, but there might be something in there that they might find useful as well. For the beginners, for sure, it'll be a useful lesson. So let's dive into it. Okay, first of all, what are trends? Trends are basically compressions. They compress the move in a particular direction, right? So a downtrend would compress the move in a downward direction, right? So say we'll start touch, 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 right? And obviously a trend becomes a trend over time. You can't, we can't obviously draw a trend, an arbitrary spot and then expect it to touch those. The touches have to be first, and then we draw a trend, right? That goes without saying. And then obviously an uptrend will be the complete opposite, right? It'll be compressing the move in the upward direction, right? So uptrend would be, you know, this will be the base point of your trend, right? And then these are all reach points. So this is a reach point, this is a reach point, right? This is a reach point. So a trend is basically compressing the move in a particular direction, right? Now, another job of the trend line is to basically okay, I have to close WhatsApp over here. Okay, another job of the trend line is once the trend is broken, it's supposed to fuel the move in a particular direction. So imagine if this were a trend line that got established over time. If it gets broken, right, it will dump the move really hard in that particular direction, right? And the amount of dump that happens would totally depend on the time frame that the trend got broken on, right? A weekly trend would cause a lot bigger dump as compared to a daily or a 12-hour, 4-hour perhaps, right? A daily will cause a bigger dump compared to, or pump if it's the upside down, if it's like this, right? It'll cause a bigger pump towards the upside as compared to smaller time frame. So um, then so the downtrend is marked from the top of accumulation candle to top of another accumulation candle, right? You have to go one hard close at a time, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And the uptrend, of course, will be marked from the bottom of distribution candles to the bottom of other distribution candles, right? So, for instance, a downtrend would be something like this, right? You start from the very top of the move, right? And what is the next accumulation candle? It's right here, right? And then what is the next hard close above it? As long as you have hard closes above it, you will keep massaging the trend or keep adapting the trend until you get to the last one that is sticking above the downtrend, right? So in this case, this is a downtrend, right? Now, then you have further move over here that is not covered by this particular compression. Okay, trend line is also referred to as compression, right? So again, I will branch out another trend from this spot and put it on the next green candle wick, and you see this is a valid trend. I don't have another this trend has been compressing the move down, and I don't have another hard close sticking out, right? Another important point to remember is that if you want to massage the same trend on a small time frame for a little bit more accuracy, it will not be a valid trend, but it will give you accuracy. So whenever you massage a trend, how should I put this? This trend is the most it's valid on this particular time frame. If you massage the same trend on a smaller time frame, you will get accuracy. In this case, we never, by the way, touch the base point of the trend. Okay, you can go to a smaller time frame, and you see we have this as a hard close sticking above it. However, the reach point I have to see. So let's say if the reach point were over here, I can't go back and pin it over here, right? I would have to always with magnitude tool on. Okay. Again, all the advanced intermediate guys, they already know this information, but it's more of a video for the beginners guys. But for the advanced guys or intermediate guys, you guys will have a couple of things you guys can look forward to by the end of this video. Okay, so to take it from here and go to the right side, right, forward in the move. So next part, you see, so perfectly that, oops, sorry, on top of the distribution candle. So always make sure that you pay close attention to the hard closes, right? Sometimes you have to toggle, you have to zoom in, make sure, because even if like for instance, if it's something like this, even a small part of the body is touching the trend itself, it's not considered a hard close. Okay, hard close means the entire part of the body should be above the trend line itself, right? So that was the next hard close. So now I massage this trend to get more accuracy on this trend. However, I lost the validity of the trend, or the strength of the trend, right? Because that same trend line used to look like this versus massage this on a smaller time frame. So usually what I do is if I want to massage this trend in the moment to see what is the last compression, which we tend to do sometimes to see the last compression, right? Because the trend becomes more polarized the more you massage it. Again, something for the future lessons. But I make it dashed, which basically is telling me that the valid trend lines are the solid ones, right? That were developed over time on a particular time frame. But the massage trend, those are more accurate, however not valid on that particular time frame, right? So that's sort of what I do. The same thing, you guys can apply that on the opposite side of the chart, right? So imagine if the green candles are red candles and red candles are green candles, it would look like something like this, right? So imagine this will be an uptrend, right? So don't want to make this video too long, want to keep it short, want to only do one side of the chart. And so what is another important piece of information that you guys need to remember for trend lines, okay? So we have different types of trend lines, exterior versus interior. But before that, actually, let's talk about what constitutes a trend. A trend has to have a minimum of 3 touches, okay? And that includes the base point. So for instance, if this is a trend line, I want minimum 3 touches in order for this to be considered a trend. Some people, they just, whenever it has 2 touches, they will consider this a trend. I beg to differ. It has to be minimum 3 touches for it to be an established trend, because a trend has to be, this is a bare minimum for you to have a trend line. However, it's not tested, so how can you call this a trend, right? It has to be touched a 3rd time for it to be considered a valid trend, right? So yeah, that's point number 1. Some of the intermediate or advanced guys might find this information useful. If you already knew this, good for you. And the cleaner the trend, the cleaner the trend, the cleaner the breakout, right? So cleaner the trend touches, right? So in other words, imagine if this trend looked something like this, where without having the hard close, you have a lot of candles sticking out like this, right? But imagine none of them are hard closes, right? So seeing the breakout on this particular trend will be very hard. You would have to probably massage this or draw that same trend line on a smaller time frame to see the actual breakout. So you would have to probably massage this for it to, this would probably give you your cleaner breakout, right? But imagine if that same trend line were cleaner, right? In other words, quite clean touches, right? Now this type of trend, when it breaks, the breakout you will see very clear, okay? And the move will be just as big as well, okay? That's another important thing to remember. And with the types of trends, there are exterior versus interior. Now I'm not going to go in too much depth about exterior versus interior and when to use them. A lot of people, they draw the trend lines, but they don't know why they're drawing them. What is the significance of that particular trend, right? They don't know how to use them. So exterior is something that you basically start from the very top of the move, right? And then you branch out other candles. So all of these will be considered as exterior trends, right? And same thing from the bottom, right? So for instance, in this chart, go to the absolute beginning of this chart, for instance, and you go one hard close at a time. I'm not going to do all that work, right? You guys already know how to do that, but just for instance, if the one hard close at a time, it happened to be right here. So you have 3 minimum touches, which is the prerequisite of a hold. Well, there you go. Okay. So this is an exterior trend, right? And then you'll have to cover this part of the compression. You will start where you left off the other trend line, right? And you started drawing until you cover all the compressions. All of these are exterior trends, right? However, interior trends are something that start somewhere in the middle, right? So they could be part of the interior trends, but not necessarily. What I mean by that is, there could be a trend line that probably started from this spot right here. Okay. Now, for this, like how to actually choose a spot where you would start your interior trend from. Now, in the upcoming lessons, that will be clear. But for now, I want you guys to look at it in terms of bigger time frames and look at where the move started this upward momentum. Okay, so probably something like this, right? Again, this is just 2 touches, but imagine if there were another touch as well, right? Actually, if we go forward in the move, we might be able to find something like this over here. So there you go. Cut with the replay tool over here, right? So something like this, right? This would be considered a valid interior trend, right? So you see how I didn't start it from the very bottom. I just started from an arbitrary spot where it actually, you can clearly tell that's where the upward momentum started from, right? Just blast it from there, right? Same thing, you could find it somewhere around here. What about this guy right here? That's a good one, right? Again, one hard close. Oops, a hard close at a time, right? So from here to here to here. There you go. That's another valid interior trend, and as you can see, it was like respected here, here, here. Technically, didn't have a hard close below it, right? Yeah, that's basically the difference between interior and exterior. And is there anything else that's missing? I guess that's about it for this lesson. But there's a lot more to trends. In the upcoming lesson, you guys will be actually we'll be covering a lot more regarding how to use these trends versus the exterior trends, and yeah, that's it for this lesson. See you guys in the next video.